Hey guys, before we get into the episode, just want to let you know that my new Godzilla comic is coming out today. So after you listen to this, watch this, go get it. Godzilla War for Humanity #1. Drawn by me, written by Andrew McLean. I'm super excited about it. Also, I am being represented by Inky Knuckles now. So go to inkyknuckles.com on Friday, August 18th, so you can snag an original page of art from the book. They're all dropping that day, so don't miss out. We've also got a shirt design that is only available for this week until the next episode of the podcast. So every week I'm going to try to do a new shirt that'll only be up during the week between episodes. So go snag that. Go to my Etsy link in the description to go get one. Super excited about this episode. We had Kyle Strahm on. Fantastic guy. Love him to death. We had a really fun time. So I hope you like the episode. And yeah. Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of the Dead Gremlin Podcast. I'm Jake Smith, but Kyle, you can call me Dead Gremlin if you would like.
Well, maybe I will. We'll see how it goes.
If you want, if the mood strikes you.
What is dope? What is dope? Yeah. You never heard anybody say dope before? Can you help
So this is the first episode. I wanted to do a podcast where we get two comic artists kind of talking. I draw comic books. This guy does as well. I don't know how we found ourselves doing that, but it's great. We love it, right? Correct?
Oh yeah, the bee's knees.
You've
man.
never regretted it.
No.
Never woken up in a cold sweat. Why?
I feel like you're putting a negative spin on it.
No,
it's great.
Look at my smile. There's no downsides.
No, it is great. It's
Yeah.
fantastic, and like any job that you love, there is stuff that isn't great.
It's ups and downs.
But in general, it's awesome.
Yeah. Do you ever? Okay, so for anyone that doesn't know, Kyle Strahm, yes, is a comic book artist. He is most known, I think, at this point for Twig.
Yes, I am.
But I found you through Spread.
Spread.
And I think
okay.
a lot of people,
Here I brought
discovered you
visual
through
aids.
Spread. Oh yeah. So this is what Spread or Twig looks like.
Twig.
Show them Spread though. That's
gotta
what they
find it.
want.
Spread.
They're sick of Twig.
Spread.
Spread, dude. It's
Yeah.
not about butter or margarine.
No,
or
it's
anything.
not. Though there is a lot in it. There's a lot of butter in it.
Butter. You're always fighting for more butter. There's not enough butter, man. So I found you through Spread, and then last year we did a graphic novel together.
Sort of last year.
Was it last year?
I mean, it came out last year. Really,
It came out last year.
Really, it's been
Oh.
like 4 years
It's been a long time.
because of the pandemic.
Yeah,
We started it pre-pandemic.
We started it like 2 years pre-pandemic, just pitching it for a long time.
Because pitching takes a long time.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of pitching.
Yeah.
And then we did a thing that you shouldn't do, which is we'd pitch it one place and wait instead of
Put all our eggs in that basket.
instead of pitching it multiple places. And so every process we were like, oh my gosh, it's taking forever.
And at that time, I was not doing comics full time. I was working landscaping.
Yeah.
So I was mowing lawns and doing all that kind of stuff. So I would like come home all sweaty and sunburnt, and I'd call you and I'd be like, "Is it picked up? I need this."
And I'd be like, oh, kid, you're not gonna hear yet. It's gonna be a while before we hear anything.
You said,
buddy.
"Put that reflector vest back on, buddy. Get back out there."
It is funny
This
to
is
me
your life.
to have we've gone through it. I'd done more books before, so I knew that the process took longer.
Yeah.
And
You're a
at that
veteran.
time, like we pitched it, and the next day you'd be like, "Dude, you hear back?" And I'm like, "Oh man."
Well, to me, it's like
But-
you emailed a guy.
Yeah.
If they were nice, they'd be like,
Oh, they're all nice.
"Oh, but they're nice." But then you think about, they've got millions of emails,
Mm-hmm.
and you hope that's.
But what I love is now you're the one who's like, "Oh man, it's gonna take a while."
Yeah, no, I know. Like, for, if you already follow me, I did a book with my friend Emily Alvarez called Ricochet and the Fangs. And she's also a newish comic artist, like I was when I was doing Kickstarters. And she was the same way when we were kind of pitching it, and we're still kind of pitching it right now. But where she was like, "When's it going to be my whole year's writing on the money we're making?" And I'm like, "I'm so sorry, but pitching, it's not my fault, but pitching takes a while." And you never know. Like, how long overall was it for Into Radness? It took like...
Oh, well, it was a weird one because... So here's Into Radness, by the way, if you're watching
bring
this.
it up.
Here's the book.
It's orange.
It's bright orange.
It's scientifically proven to draw your eye.
Yeah, check it out. So anyway, I'll put it here behind our
Kyle,
drinks.
one day I walked in and he was like, we got to make it orange.
It's true. So yeah, orange makes people make impulse purchases more.
Yeah.
Not this book.
No. You were like, it's orange. We should have just made the whole cover orange, nothing else.
But look at the color of the tea you bought. It's orange.
It's orange, and you want to impulsively buy it as well. You want to impulsively chug that.
So we pitched it. I don't know. I think it took a year maybe before it got approved at Dark Horse.
Yeah.
And it was approved as a miniseries. It was going to be a 4-issue miniseries. And then there was a pandemic. Yeah. And during the pandemic, everybody's books were put on hold. So I had 3 projects in the works. One was coming out, a book I did with Baldemar Rivas and Cullen Bunn called Unearth. And that one just went on hold. And then ours... I thought it was going to be... Pencils down, everybody. Yeah.
I thought it was going to be like... At one point, I was like, I don't think they're going to
do it anymore. I didn't think so either. But I remember the week before, our editor was like, get your invoices in. So I flash wrote the second or third
so you could get some more script money.
And got it turned in. And then 2 years later, after the pandemic, when they were like, we can do it as a graphic novel.
Let's go back. Yeah.
I went back and read that script. I was like, oh my, I literally wrote this in like a night. And it was not good. The one that I wrote in a night.
Which issue was that?
Well, I rewrote it. It was issue 2, but you never read that.
That version? Yeah. You sent him the shit version. You gave me the good one.
Yeah.
I said, Jake, this one's for you.
This one's great, Jake.
Oh, that reminds me just of a funny thing that I like. Oh, this is good because I had this on my things I wanted to talk about.
Oh, good. Do you have that list? Or are you just going from
No, I'm going from my brain because I want it to feel old. It's so natural. Because I know, Kyle, you love it. You love it natural.
Oh, yeah.
I would come in and...
That's me.
I would pitch you an idea and you go, it's not natural. And I go, okay.
I would? Really?
No. That's so, why would you ever? That's so weird. Bro, it's got to be natural. And I'd be like, what does he even mean by that? But I was going to talk about were primarily an artist. And then you very recently, the last couple of years, have dipped into writing.
Yeah.
Writing Unearth.
Yep.
Co-writing with Cullen Bunn.
Yes.
Correct.
And writing ours into Radness.
And writing ours. That was your first only you.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. I like your script process because I've seen it. I don't know if you're different with other people.
It's crazy.
No, it's great. And you can do, if you want to describe it.
You should describe it because
I'll describe it from my point of view. And you can describe it from your point of view. But when I get it, it's great because if you read like a Alan Moore script, it's like almost like he doesn't even want it to be a comic. He's so descriptive. It's like you could just read it like it's a novel. You write a script like this is a comic book, and you have things in it that are directly at me. Yeah. You'll stop the whole thing, and in parentheses, will say, Jake, please, for the love of God, don't forget this.
Yeah, because it's important. It's an important story.
But I like a script breaking out and going, Jake, I know you're out there. You have to put this pizza on the floor. It's essential.
It will be very important.
It will come out, please. And I think that's also how my process is you write so much detail, but I very quickly was like, I can't put all this in. He's just giving me...
Oh yeah, I knew you
know what I mean?
Put all that in.
How would you? Is that what you do?
Yeah. So I mean, the book Into Radness, it's wild. There's all kinds of like
monsters.
Well, there are dick monsters. I don't think the script called
for them.
You
didn't say it.
But
I got what you were wanting me to do.
But like there's a big rec room where all these kids hang out, and they've got all their cool. It's a lot like this actually.
Yeah.
But I wanted
these real bricks.
And here's the thing: Jake and I know each other, and we understand.
Do we really?
We knew what it was gonna feel like, and so I would be like, "Here's 50 things that might be in there, man."
Yeah.
And then some of them made their way in, but that's why I would be like, "And this one is important for the story." Yeah. So I don't know that I'm writing a thing now for myself.
Oh,
and
can you talk about it?
Not really, but I can.
Intrigue.
I have shown the script to a couple of people, and they were like, "You're writing this for yourself. Why are you putting all these details in?" And I was like, because I don't want to have to rethink of it.
No, that's
like
true.
I already figured out the camera angle. Why would I want to
think of all the things you thought of?
But our friend Chris Grine, who is also a comic book artist, he was like,
he's cool. We'll get him on.
He was like, why would you write all this? And I mean, That's why.
Why would you do comics?
I'd forget because I would forget that I'll forget that I already solved the problem.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. What I've been doing with the Godzilla. Oh, also I'm doing Godzilla.
Godzilla over here.
So
Godzilla
also
Man.
this episode is dropping on Wednesday, the day that my first issue of Godzilla comes out.
What's Godzilla called?
It's called Godzilla War for Humanity. It's written by Andrew McLean, and it's drawn by me, and it's coming out today. If it's up today, I really hope we get it up.
From where? From what company is publishing that book?
IDW, man.
Oh, yeah.
They own Godzilla for now.
So can you get this Godzilla comic
Anywhere.
in any comic shop?
You go to any comic shop that's cool. If you walk in, they don't have it. They're not.
Here's what
cool.
you do: go back in time and pre-order.
Pre-order. Yeah, it's too late. The comic system is silly.
But if you missed issue 1,
and you need a 90 number code,
then get issue 3.
Yeah,
I think
issue 3 is
because I think I drew the cover for issue 3.
Yes, or is it 4? 3 or 4? Get them both. Get all the covers for both. Don't even look at what they are. Just get them all. Oh yeah. So the script that Andrew's been sending me, I've been doing a thing where I highlight all of the things I'll need reference for while I'm just reading the script, so I don't have to think about it, and then I can make a Pinterest board or whatever of just like tanks. You know, for ideas. So I highlight every. It's almost like I have a friend who does production design.
It's almost like I have a friend.
It's almost
who highlights who's helping me.
It's almost like I have a friend. I have a friend. She is a production designer, and she will go through scripts and just budget them by going, this location, you need a tank or whatever the set needs, and highlight it all and do like a budget for it. I'm doing that with like reference. So I get what you mean by in my thumbnails in my early stages, I'll get all the thinking done.
Yeah.
And then what you want to do early in the stages is do as much thinking as possible. So later you're like, I'm done with
you're
that.
like autopilot.
Yeah.
So in the writing, the one I'm writing for myself, after every page, I have like 2 pages of reference images that I'm like, here's everything I need, and it's in there.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty happy about that.
That's great.
I mean, there are some more barren parts where I was like, I got to get 5 pages written.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, early on especially, I was like putting it all in there.
Did that take a while to learn that process for you? Like, how was it early on when you were trying to figure out your best way of streamlining your art? Were you kind of going by the seat of your pants? Do you feel like you have a better system in place for
I think
beginning? Because like, as an example, you have what you were doing on Twig was you weren't doing it by pages. You were doing it by panels, and you were like, you added up all the panels you'll need to draw.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
So, and I haven't found many people who do that.
Yeah.
I've asked, and people
cool.
are like, I can't do that, because a page could have 7 panels on it. But what I did was I was like, if I can do 3 panels a day, and not just any 3 panels, a complex environment panel.
Oh, you had a combination.
A headshot.
Yeah.
And like one that has some background stuff in it.
Okay.
Like
so
every day.
Always do big shot, headshot that.
I mean,
or try to.
Near the end, you run out of options.
Yes.
But that's what I would try
These
to do.
These are all feet shots.
And
You've
then
got 20 feet shots to do.
Yeah. But of course, by the end, I was like, all right, I got to do 2 pages today.
Yeah, that's true. You're like, oh, shit. And I was going to say, like, do you count a splash page as 1 panel? So you have to do a whole splash page and 2 other panels?
No, because, I mean, that would just be playing a mean trick on myself.
Got him.
I did initially, but then I was like, I can't do.
Yeah.
So a splash page, I'm going to take 2 days on, because for me, if it's a splash page, it's a splash page for a reason, and I want to show off if I can. Yeah. So I'll put a bunch of silly stuff in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that'll take a couple of days.
Okay, that's cool. Another thing I like to explore with different artists, I feel like, is where they kind of began and then how they've progressed, because so many artists, if you trace them all back, like what I was obsessed with in art school was going on everyone's DeviantArt, like James Herron's DeviantArt, and being like, what did he used to look like before he became himself?
Oh yeah.
And I love that stuff, because if you look at Andrew McLean's stuff, his stuff's not like this at all, but if you look at him like in college, it's Magnolia. Like, it's just straight
everybody has that. And I think it's interesting to, like, there's always a seed of them.
Exactly.
Like, it reminds me of in the 90s when there were house styles for Marvel and DC. These guys like Magnolia would draw. Well, he's always had his own thing a little bit, but like Todd McFarlane would draw in the House DC style.
Yeah.
And then eventually, after he did it for a while, he would like start to become Todd McFarlane.
Yeah.
Or Bill Sienkiewicz. It was the same.
Yeah.
And Jeff Darrow. I went and talked to Jeff Darrow once because I wanted to.
He's a great guy.
I wanted to know. I love that guy. He's awesome.
Yeah.
I was really interested in the concept of like examining your own work and identifying what you're the worst at.
Yeah.
And then elevating, like working on what you're the worst at to bring it up to a level so that's no longer what you're the worst at.
Yeah.
And then you're the worst at something else. And so
Bring that up.
you can bring that up. And if you just do that over and over and over,
bringing everything
eventually,
up. Yeah.
because there's something you're the best at.
That's
and
true.
you want to get everything else to that level. But I was interested I wanted to talk to Jeff Darrow about that and ask him what he was working on.
Yeah.
I asked him if that was how he thought about his work. I asked him like what his old work used to look like, and was there a moment where he like it all gelled and he became what he was? And he was like, no, I've mostly always been interested in like, he said he was always interested in like very packed environments. And if you go look at that Bourbon Thread in heavy metal, like his first heavy metal thing, it's all there. You're like, oh yeah, that's
It's
Jeff
still
Darrow.
him, yeah.
But I asked him, what are you working on now? Like, what aspect of your art are you working on right now? And he paused and he was like, the rhythms of nature.
Whoa.
And I was like, I bet you are, man. I bet you can look. I bet you can look at two different pieces of your work and be like, I really nailed the rhythms of nature.
The rhythms in that one and not
And
that one.
yeah, and I
That's
was like,
crazy.
yeah. So
Well, it's also
so get with it, man. Get your
my
rhythms.
rhythms aren't really that solid, and it's also a thing I haven't thought of. I have found it's interesting the things that you like. You're only as good as you are in the moment, and you can't be good at a thing that you like. Say you're not very good in anatomy, you don't even know you're not good yet, because once you know you're not good, then you can start working on it.
Oh yeah.
Are there things that you look back on that at that time you were literally like, I nailed this, and you had no idea that you were like doing like maybe their faces were
You mean
awful,
like when I look at the old stuff?
yeah, is there
something
project you did where at that time you were like, fuck, I finally I did it, and you have that moment?
Constantly. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, like every single story I drew where I learned something, I'd be like, this is the best thing I've ever done.
did it,
But that never changes.
Yeah.
Like, hopefully, every project you do, you think this is the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
And I think it's diminishing returns. Like the more work you do, the incremental improvements are much smaller.
Yeah, that's
But
like you slow down at a time, like you're getting good, and then you start to slow down because you're not getting as
well,
right?
I mean, there's less to learn, and there's less that. Not that I'm like.
You're a guru.
Not that I'm like super advanced, but
You are.
There's less to learn, but there's also, well, that's not true. There's always more to learn. You always learn that there's more to learn.
Yeah.
What I'm really saying is it's less perceivable to everyone else.
Yeah.
What you're messing with, what you're learning, what you're trying. Like once you reach a certain level, I think most people are like, yeah, I like their stuff, or I don't.
That's true.
And then the stuff you're thinking about is
Like the rhythms of nature.
So cut out that part where I was like, there's nothing left to learn, man.
Yeah. Okay.
So cut that part out.
Cut that. Make a note of that.
But then you seek out the people who are doing the same thing because they get it, you know?
Yeah, that's true. No, I totally agree. And it's like, I was going to say, you get to a point too, or maybe you are on a tight deadline or something, and you can kind of pick out the things that no one will notice. Like you're like, if I don't draw every brick in the background,
Oh yeah, nobody will
no
notice.
one.
We should all be
gives two
doing that in the
shits
first
about
place.
it. Yeah.
You should be doing that in the
It's
first
like
day. But
when I did meet James
but I
Heron,
don't.
the only
Yeah.
time I've met him, I gave him my whole stack of Rumbles, and I was like, here, and he was like, oh wow, you have everything that I've ever done, and I was like, you're the best. And then I told him, oh man, I love your BPRD like era. That was
That's
like
good.
it's like one of my
Those are good
favorites. And he's
books.
like, yeah, back when I thought I had to draw every brick on every building. You could see the pain in the way he was saying it.
Those are beautiful books. Though.
They're gorgeous, but you kind of get what he's saying, because he's also one of those guys that, like Mignola, has streamlined his style more and more.
I feel like everybody I feel like most people
Andrew's
do
like that too.
The longer they go, the more they think. Well, we get tired. It's a lot of work, but the further along we go, cartooning, the entire point of it is to get information across with as little as possible. And we, at some point, we all get into this. Well, not all of us, but some of us are like, I got to make it as overwhelming as possible. I have to put every single thing in so people will, so I can I got to convince everyone I can draw. But you don't have to do that. Once you get a certain skill level, you no longer have to convince everyone you can draw everything. And you learn that it's actually more powerful to use your ability to edit, like emphasize things, pull back, like from a storytelling perspective. It's way more powerful to not have every single panel be an explosion, unless you're Jeff Darrow. And then it's awesome.
Then it's so good, because then it's like, no, I'm kind of learning that too on the Godzilla book. I'm coloring it as well, and this last issue has been a struggle because sometimes I feel like you unlock a new part of your brain that opens up a bunch of things, and then it actually makes it harder because now you have, like, I'm going back on old pages from a couple months ago that I feel like I have improved so drastically that it's hard to go back and color even those pages.
Oh yeah.
And I talked to Buster about it, our friend Buster Moody, another comic book artist who also did a Godzilla book, and we had a lot.
Godzilla in Hell.
Godzilla in Hell.
Number 3.
Go pick that up.
And he's hidden in a page in Into Radness.
Whoa, did I know that?
You drew it.
Where did I put him?
Here, you keep talking. You keep talking, and I'll find it.
Well, I was just gonna say, have you ever felt like you've improved to the point that now it's almost like you were ignorant in a way of what you needed to do to make a page good, and now that you know it, it actually takes you longer to do a page than it used to. Like, you aren't getting faster. Like, I watched the Frank Quitely. Have you seen Frank Quitely's What Artists Do All Day video on YouTube?
Mm-mm.
It's so good, and it's just him hanging out in his studio and sleeping on Akira books and talking about.
I've heard of it.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, and he's talking about how since he's gotten better, he doesn't feel like he's gotten any faster. He's just gotten better, but his speed hasn't, because now he sees more things that he didn't used to see, and it makes him take longer on pages than he would have.
Well, I feel like, here's Buster Moody. He's right there.
Oh, yes. And I put Emily and Baltimore in there, too.
I'll give it to Zoe so she can... So, yeah, I feel like when you improve at anything, you're not doing anything differently. And what I mean by that is the work that goes on in your head, you're still doing the best you can. Yeah. Like, you're still using every skill that you have to make a page that's as good as it can be. Yeah. And that never changes unless you become lazy.
Yeah, that's true. Which some do.
So.
And that's fine.
I understand why. Yeah. So unless you actively work to become faster.
Yeah, if that's your goal.
And then I think you're just going to take the same amount of time. And everybody says, well, you get good and then you get fast.
That's what I mean.
Or that's what they used to say.
I thought
I was like, and by good, I like to change good to like marketable. You get marketable.
Yeah.
And then you become fast, because there are plenty of people whose work I love.
Yeah.
And it's like sincere, and they're like, here's my comic. And I'm like, I love this.
Yeah.
It is not marketable.
Yeah.
But it looks like you do it really fast too.
Oh, and not that these guys aren't marketable or like amazing, but that actually was going to lead me into the influences. Who do you think, who were your earliest influences? Who were the guys that you kind of, I don't want to say aped their style, but you were like, like, oh, I'm drawing like that guy. And then you have found who you are.
Well, it's taken a long time. I mean, I was really into like Sam Keith when I was young. Yeah. And I still am.
Max right here.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good. And so the era of comics that I really liked when I started reading it, it was a lot of the artists were like the guys who would go on to be the Image guys.
Yeah.
And their styles were really like high energy, low technical drawing skill.
Yeah, it was all
but
energy.
Like and super awesome inking.
Yeah.
And when I say technical drawing skill, I mean they didn't care about figure drawing because the point was to make it as like high energy and awesome. And then they had like killer inking style, like technique.
Yeah.
Like their
hashing
skills
the
at inking were like insane. So I struggled later because I was always riffing on those guys. I was like, that's what I want to do. Riffing, not riffing. I was ripping off those guys. I was like, I need to do that. I need to do that.
Yeah.
But I was never paying attention to people with like great foundational drawing skills.
Yeah.
I was like paying
boring.
I was paying attention to these like bizarrely shaped characters, and I was like, I'll be good enough if I can ink like that.
Yeah.
If I can figure out that crosshatch technique, I'll be good enough.
I'll be good. Yeah.
And now I have it took me a long time. I don't think about that anymore. Now I'm way more like my underdrawing has to be super good, and then I can not cut corners, but I could do exactly what we were talking about that Mignola and Andrew McLean do. Like I can get away with less. I can present less, and if I make sure the foundation is there. So yeah, early on, the first comic I ever bought was Marvel Comics Presents number 93, which was a flip book. Sam Keith drew one of the covers with Ghost Rider and Cable.
How old were you?
I was, I don't know. I was like 9 maybe, or something like that. And it's funny. I looked at it a couple of years ago. I looked at it and I was like, oh, I like stole a bunch of stuff from when I made Spread. Because it's like a story about Wolverine in the snow fighting like these monsters that turn into like big tentacle things with like 2 daggers. And I didn't even write Spread. But
I was gonna say, you didn't come up with the initial.
Yeah, and so I was like, oh my god, this looks like Spread. That's crazy. And then wild. I also I loved McFarlane. I loved Spawn. Spawn was the thing I was the most into as far as comics go as a kid. And there's an issue of Spawn, number 49, that I remember when it came out. I met Todd McFarlane the first time when I was a kid. I was at the con and I waited in line to meet him, and they had the mock-up because they used to have print mock-ups of covers of issue 49, and I was like, that's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Yeah. And then I was looking at that again a couple of years ago. I was like, wow, I stole a bunch of stuff from this too. I didn't remember. That stuff's just internalized, you know? And then you see it and you're like, oh, and then there is stuff like there's stuff from other things that I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that I just took that and like you change it. You don't just like lift it and steal it, but
you take in enough influences that it all kind of like coagulates, I guess.
Yeah.
And it forms, and then you funnel it through your own voice.
Right, and when you start, your own voice is nothing because
you're an idiot. You don't know anything.
You haven't cultivated enough skill or a unique perspective of any kind. But after you do it a lot, you make discoveries. The more work you do, the more discoveries you make, like you were saying. Yeah. And you choose which discoveries to carry on.
That's true.
And then that becomes you.
Yeah.
And so that's why the people who draw the most have the most unique styles, or they go through the more phases. Faster, and they have eras of the way they draw. And we both have eras. Like
we just don't think about it,
right? Like I can look at your work and be like, and I know conversations you and I have had that I can be like, that's before we talked about that. Yeah, that's after we talked about that.
Well, even let's just mention Heroes Con. My art looks different than before I went to Heroes Con this last time because I hung out with Aaron Connolly and Andrew McLean and Stephen Green and all those guys, and just being around them.
Those are talented. Well, they're not talented. Those are skilled dudes.
Dude, just being around
put
those
the
guys,
work in, and they are skilled guys.
Aaron shows you a page, and you go,
they're like, oh,
I gotta
cool.
work harder.
Like I gotta think. Oh man,
I gotta be more bad shit.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so there's I don't know who said this originally. I think I heard Rob Liefeld say it. That he used to think in terms of pages. He'd be like, well, with this page, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. And then he would think in terms of issues. Like he'd be like, well, on this page, I'm going to try this technique, and I'm going to try this technique. Yeah. And then when you do enough work, when I heard this, I hadn't. But he'd be like, and then I'd think in terms of issues, and I'd be like, well, in that issue, I really tried to do this and this.
Oh,
and
either had a goal for the issue.
Yeah, and either it succeeded or it failed, or I learned this. And then you start to think in terms of books. And that's where I am now, which when I heard all that, I was like, what?
Like,
because now I'm like, well, on Twig, I did this on my new thing. I want to bring like black spotting back into it. Like I want to, so I'm going to absorb work by all these guys who do like heavy blacks and stuff. But I don't want to I don't want to do cross hatching. Like I did a ton of that in spread. And when I drew spread, I felt like I needed to have lines all over everything.
Yeah.
And then it took me a lot to like strip all that away and get down to like the core of it.
And with Twig, at least I thought so. You had such a good colorist on Twig.
Oh yeah, Jean-Francois Lollet is like so good.
If he would inked it more, it would have he would have had a harder time. Like it.
Well, yeah,
when the colorist that you were working with.
I didn't at the beginning.
Cut that
gibberish. Edit that gibberish out.
Make Kyle look so cool.
My Porky Pig.
Yeah, no, make it longer.
So when I started Twig, I did not know what the collaboration was going to be like. So I was putting in things that weren't necessarily to the benefit of the cohesiveness of working with him. But by the 5th issue, I was like, I'm not even going to put anything there because I know that he'll paint it out. Yeah. Or what I really like about him, besides that he's a fantastic colorist, is I would give him notes on a lot of the pages at the beginning of when I handed the pages over.
Yeah.
Like storytelling notes.
Yeah.
Like to say, or I'd be like, I'm really going for this vibe from this thing, but he understands storytelling so well. And he understands all those references that every single time I'd be like, well, he nailed it.
Yeah.
And it's better than I could have imagined.
Yeah.
So
he's amazing.
It did change the way I drew on that because I was like, well, it'll be better if we do it that way. Yeah. But it also changed the way I told the story because when you're just drawing in black and white, or even if you're just coloring with a flatter color, there are things you can't do that he would do. Like I'd be like, let's make the sun coming across right here to draw attention to this.
Yeah. And
like everything else is kind of in shadow. And he'd be like, got it.
Yeah.
And it was.
Well, I'm wondering because I'm always afraid if I've only had one colorist. I've always colored myself, but.
You're the one colorist?
I'm always, well, no, I had a different person color me on a different book.
Oh, okay.
One time, and I didn't give them any notes because they were professional, and I was a young boy. So I was like, they know what they're doing, and it didn't turn out how I wanted it, and it didn't turn out super good. How many notes do you give your colorists? How much of it do you go, you got it?
Well, at the beginning, every collaboration,
let go over the course.
Well, I didn't used to give any notes, just like you. I would be like, I hope it looks good when it comes back. And half the time it did, and half the time I was not happy with it. Yeah. But that doesn't mean the color was bad. It just means that it took me a long time after staring at a thing in black and white. It's jarring to get it back in color. Yeah. And I had to shorten the window over time and experience, the window in which it was jarring. Like, it's still jarring. When I get the email back, I'm like, I'm waiting an hour.
Yeah.
Because it's just weird, you know?
Yeah.
You spend so much time with the black and white. But you got to feel it out.
Back one that's so not what you wanted that you had to say, can you change this? Or, you know?
I don't think... I mean, maybe I used to do that more, but what's funny is I used to have a worse eye. So who knows if it was good
if it was
advice.
A good note or not. Yeah.
And I do think every collaboration, there's a relationship, and either it's appropriate within that relationship or it's not to ask for stuff. But I also think that anybody who draws comics and hands their work over to a colorist should give notes at the beginning about their intent and storytelling. As far as Twig goes, almost never did I give notes when I got it back.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a few places, maybe.
But he's amazing.
Yeah, and I think the further along I go, and I work with, if I do covers, a lot of the time, Greg Smallwood colors the covers, and he's amazing.
He's amazing.
And so
he's amazing in all realms of making comic books.
So I'll give him notes up front.
Yeah.
And I'm usually just like, whatever, man. And then I'm always happy.
You say "Go hog wild."
I do
caps.
I have it saved in my clipboard. I just pasted it in.
You know when Google autofills like you should say "awesome, thanks for the update." Yours auto does. You're gonna say "Go hog
Go
wild."
hog wild. But yeah, and that happens. Like you get used to working with people, and you want to work with them more.
Yeah,
and it's
once you have that super easy, like we had that.
Yeah,
super easy back and forth, and I'm like, oh, you get what I'm saying without having it. It's just that's why when I was younger, I would watch like an Edgar Wright movie or something, and he's always working with Simon Pegg, and at that time he'd be like, hey, come on, branch out. But once you meet the people you like working with, you're like, I don't want to work with anyone else. Then you got to relearn like your chemistry with someone. Like
absolutely,
we're easy. That's why on my Blood Force Trauma, which is coming out also in a trade next month.
It is next month.
Dark Horse. It was supposed to come out this month. It got delayed, like Into Radness did. Like right at the end. Right.
Wait. So at the time of this broadcast, is it out?
No, it's coming out in September. Okay. September 19th. Blood Force is dropping.
That's awesome. From Dark Horse.
From Dark Horse. But me and Hiram have that, where we just get on a call and I can have some story problem and he can fix he can fix it in the most entertaining. Like I'm a very moment to moment writer. He's a very big picture writer.
Yeah.
And so it's good to have that kind of like.
Well, and collaborating with Scotty Young, who wrote Twig.
Yeah.
Scotty's an artist. And so his entire philosophy for writing scripts for a particular artist is informed by that.
Yeah.
Because he knows the things that rub him the wrong way when he works with a writer. So he doesn't want to do any of those things. He also doesn't want his fingerprints all over it because he wants the person to shine, basically.
Yeah.
He wants whoever's doing it to their vision to come through. So it's really fun working with him. I'd give him a page sometimes where I'm like, Scotty, I changed this around. Hope you don't mind. And he'd be like, I don't even remember writing that. So
I've got.
It's like I don't even remember what I wrote.
Yeah.
It's great. But the same thing. Sometimes Scotty would have a note. Yeah. And it was always about a storytelling thing.
Yeah,
or like a vibe, like the vibe. I say vibe a lot. What I mean is like the tone, what you're feeling when you read it. Like our thing has a like 80s funky,
80s, 90s,
like
I always thought it was like very Nickelodeon.
It is very Nickelodeon.
If it like breaks that vibe, you're like, this breaks the vibe of our like the tone. You would say, tone would be the
correct word.
Way cool.
Tone would be the correct word.
Kyle says vibe.
It's a vibe.
Kyle says vibe.
The vibe.
And hog wild and vibe.
Yeah.
Kyle's got lots of catchphrases.
I suddenly do.
I'm creating this lore about you. Oh.
But we lost the thread again.
I missed my mouth. Well, I was going to actually talk about, we said 80s, 90s. It is the worst segue ever, but we said the 80s. I wanted to talk to you about, we have these posters up for you because you love both of these
80s?
films.
Or
that's not 80s.
I think it's 90.
90s, but this is 80s.
That's 80s as can be.
Yeah, but I think I just got that because it's the only Evil Dead-esque, and Evil Dead is 80s. So, the Evil Dead spawned in the 80s. So we can
in 1981?
I wanted to talk about, because when I met Baldemar and he described you, he was just like, yeah, Kyle. He's like, Kyle. Like, I didn't know you that well. He was like, he's the guy who likes 80s stuff. Like, that was like one of the first things
I do.
That he used to describe you. And so since then, you've lent me The Thing on VHS.
I did.
You've lent me Gremlins 2 on VHS. You lent me.
That's my favorite
story. You lent me a bunch of VHSs, and it was like Swamp Thing, I think, too, and a couple others. And you were like, dude, if you keep these, I don't give a shit. But if you don't bring me back Gremlins 2, I'm gonna be pissed.
I don't think I would have let you keep Swamp Thing.
I think I still have it.
Well, I want Swamp Thing, man.
I'll give it to you right now.
Go finish your story. Gremlins 2.
Gremlins 2. Why is it that you love Gremlins 2 so much?
I got to tell you the rest of the story.
Sure.
So I said, I need my Gremlins 2 back, man. I need Gremlins 2 back. If you haven't seen...
Like Gandalf when he goes,
when he's not quite sure.
Is it safe? That part's
But there's a part in Gremlins 2 in the theater. It looked like the film broke, and then Hulk Hogan comes out, and he manhandles the gremlins and gets them to turn it back on.
Yeah.
But for the VHS release, they made it look like the VHS got scrambled and eaten.
That's awesome.
So when you were watching it,
Yeah.
you told me when you were watching it, you were like, "Oh no, Kyle's VHS tape."
God, Kyle's favorite movie, and then Hulk Hogan, and I was like, "Fuck you, Hulk Hogan." Scared me.
But why do I like Gremlins 2? I don't know.
Yeah,
I like it because I had it because they used to have HBO free weekend because we didn't have HBO when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But they do a promotion where they'd give you the weekend free, so they try to entice you. And so we'd get the mailer, and it would tell you all the movies that were going to play,
Yeah.
and we would tape them all.
Oh no!
And so those would be our tapes. And I had that one, and I watched it a million
Did
times.
you watch that before Gremlins 1, or you
I did. Well, no, I did watch it before Gremlins 1.
Wow.
And
did you watch Gremlins 1 and you were let down? You're like, wow.
no, I just thought it was. You just accepted what you got then.
Yeah, you're like, that's movies. You couldn't go
you
online
were
and
like,
complain.
you were like,
about
cool, another one.
it. Yeah. Cool. Thank God.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank God, Gremlins 2.
I borrowed the first one from Tom Brockman on VHS. You don't know that guy.
I don't know.
He was in my third grade class.
Oh, wow. He said it like he was famous. Tom?
He might be. I don't
You
know.
knew Tom?
But I don't know. I think it's
Which
not.
Gremlin was your
It's. I love it because I loved it as a kid. I'll answer your question, but I'm going to rant first.
No,
I talk about this a lot. Recently, I've talked about this a lot. I feel like kids have a larger capacity for enjoyment than adults do because everything to them is like, oh my gosh, it's a new thing. And so, and if they like a thing, they can like it far more than any adult can like a new thing.
Yeah.
And so that, as a kid, I watched that. I was like, this is amazing. And there weren't DVD special features. You couldn't get on YouTube and watch how they made this stuff. I was just like, oh my God, these little creatures.
It's real.
Look at them.
Yeah.
And it's funny. That movie's goofy as can be.
I mean, I love it.
It's hog wild, man.
It is Hog Wild. If you could describe anything, it's Hog Wild.
And I don't know. It informed a thing. It was just a thing I loved. And they don't make movies like that, man.
They don't make them.
What I like about Barbie, you guys did see
We
Barbie.
just saw it. It's fantastic.
What I like, there's a lot to like, but they don't make movies like that. I think Batman Begins ruined it, where they were like, this is grounded in reality.
Yeah.
Everything that's stupid has a real reason.
Yeah.
And so Barbie in that way reminded me of like when I was a kid, like the Flintstones movie and like the live action one, or like just like Batman Forever, or like there was just crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And they didn't have to explain to you how that could possibly happen.
Yeah.
And so I really hope I hope that opens the door to more stuff like that.
Well, it's always when a movie like that comes out and does so well, you hope the lessons they learn from it when they start copying it, because that's what they do. If it makes any money, there'll be 15. Like there's going to be a Polly Pocket movie.
I saw that,
year,
and I was like, really? But then I was like, wait, is there going to be a Mighty Max movie?
Yeah, you're
And
thinking
then
all the other things. That could be. And then I haven't seen Ninja Turtles yet.
I haven't either. We can't talk about it.
Dude, oh my God, we should have went and saw
We should have
that
gone to
right
see
now.
it and then come
Instead
back.
of this.
What are we doing?
Wait, Ninja Turtle. But I hope the right lessons they take from that are that, because you hope they don't go something dumb like they love pink. Like you'd think it would be something specific. It's like when Batman Begins came out, and I really liked Batman Begins.
Oh, I did too.
But then they went, like you said, they go, they'll all be like that from and then when a movie like Barbie comes out, it's refreshing. It's whatever is not
like,
the popular thing.
Imagine if they made Fantastic Four with the lens that they made Barbie.
Yeah, like goofy.
Like
Jack
imagine
Kirby.
imagine Doctor Doom and
huge
and
and he's over the
the
top.
crazy. I mean, it would be awesome.
That's
not what that's not what that film's going to be. But
I really hope.
Yeah. Anyway,
Thor
that's why
Ragnarok I feel like was like that.
I thought Thor Ragnarok was going to open the doors to all of it, and then I think things went off the rails.
Yeah. I haven't seen.
You haven't seen.
I haven't seen a Marvel movie in quite a while.
Well, it's
like overload. It's gotten to that point where it's like there's one out every 3 months, so there's no sense of I've got to go.
Well, this happens all the time. It happened with Tim Burton. He made Batman, and it's, as far as Tim Burton movies go, it's pretty conservative.
Yeah. In terms of craziness.
Yeah, it's not like Tim Burton. It's it's like a movie. It's like a big budget movie that happens to like have this Tim Burton swath over it. And then they were like, Tim Burton, you made us so much money, you can do whatever you want. And then he was like, and I will. And he made Batman Returns. And I was like, this is awesome. Yeah. But
the masses.
The way it went is like McDonald's didn't want the toys. They were like, kids, we can't put the penguin. We can't put that. We can't put the black blood dripping, like moist penguin. Like we can't put that on our window, dudes. And so there was all this backlash from the marketing people, and that's why Tim Burton didn't direct Batman 3 because it was too bizarre. And then Batman Forever happened. The same thing happened. They made Batman Forever. Joel Schumacher did.
I was not
Batman
old
Forever
enough to
was
know.
So anybody who tells you they thought Batman Forever was lame, I don't believe them.
Yeah.
Because everybody loved Batman Forever.
Really? That's so interesting.
It was awesome. It did really, really well. And then the same thing happened. But actually, recently Kevin Smith did a live tweet where he watched the Schumacher cut. And I guess they like changed some dialogue. Like they redubbed dialogue in the original cut. It was like more serious. And then they were like, well, no, let's ham it up. Yeah. So Batman Forever made a ton. The
Batman and Robin Schumacher cut is better.
Not Batman and Robin. I'm talking about Batman Forever.
Did he direct both of those?
Yes, and then
I'm dumb.
Then
sorry.
It made a bunch of money. I'm sure there are facts I have wrong, but they said Batman and Robin, do whatever you want, man. And so he took elements he was into, and I'm sure the studio interfered as well because they were like, make as many toys. This all has to be toys. Yeah.
He needs a frozen Batman suit.
And they expanded it the wrong way, and then it killed the thing. So Batman Returns killed the thing. Batman
did they
and
have
Robin
a figure?
The
they got to because it was. Did they have when the? I don't know. I cannot remember. Did Batman or someone wear those monkey suits in the rainforest like scene? The tropical scene in Batman and Robin where they go to this like restaurant that's themed.
Oh,
you remember that? And there were those big gorillas that would dance around?
I don't think they made toys of that.
Okay.
Yet.
They will. And also the ice hockey henchmen.
Yeah.
Who would like
they might have made those guys.
Come on.
But
it's like when my granny got me, she thought it was she goes, I got you a Star Wars figure, and it was that blue guy with the hangy tendrils with the staff. What's that guy's name?
Senator. It's not Chancellor Valorum. It's I don't remember, man.
It's not
episode 1. I don't know.
And it sounds like Boss Nass, but Boss Nass is the head Gungan guy.
Yeah.
But it's a name like that where it's like 2 words that sound kind of gross.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, but I got him, and I was like, oh,
well, thanks,
Granny.
You don't know anything, Granny. But the same thing happened with Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
It was awesome, and then they expanded it in the ways that we all loved, but too much.
I didn't see the new Thor either. Was that what you were saying?
Thor 4? Thor Love and Thunder? That's what I'm saying. The pushback. I'm not saying it about me.
Yeah.
I'm saying the pushback that everybody has is because it
goes too far.
The oversight got taken away, basically.
Yeah.
So,
what I like too, the Ninja Turtles is a good example because the Spider-Verse was so good, and then they were like, and now we're gonna get this like onslaught of like not quite like 2D. It looks like 2D, but it's 3D.
But it's like 3D, but it looks like 2D.
And it's like well animated, like thoughtful, animated movies with comic properties, and I'm like, what's next?
It's been I think it's funny. Iron Man came out. Changed action movies 2008, and then when that Michael Bay Ninja Turtles, they were like, all right, we're making a modern Ninja Turtles. It's gonna feel like Iron Man. It's gonna be awesome. And so like the Shred, have you seen that? Like,
I've seen it.
Yeah, like the Shredder's basically in an Iron Man suit.
Yeah. He's got a million blades.
But here's what happened. Guardians of the Galaxy came out. So there's Iron Man. And then they're making Ninja Turtles. Then Guardians of the Galaxy comes out and changes it all again.
Yeah.
And then the week later, that Ninja Turtle movie came out, and it felt super old
and outdated
because Guardians changed everything.
Man,
but that's what I think is interesting about these, like Spider-Verse and this Ninja Turtles. It takes 3 years. They're like, yeah, we're doing that, and then 3 years later, they're like, we did it. And so we don't even know what's in the works. Like that'll be
that they've already greenlit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is there one that you would want to see in that style, in that Spider-Verse style specifically?
Oh, I don't know, man.
Come on.
I don't know. I want to see a Batman movie with the Joker in like a maroon zoot suit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think after Heath Ledger, I don't think going darker was the way.
Yeah,
because they all just look like cartoons, or they all just look like they're from. I don't know. I'm not a fan. I think they needed to go back to a Joker we've never had before, which is like a Cesar Romero type.
Well, like I think they kind of did that in a way on accident with The Dark Knight came out, and then they were supposed to make a Batman game based on The Dark Knight, and it got shelved, and they made Arkham Asylum instead. And Mark Hamill came back, and it was that Joker from the animated series. Yeah, but that's why it hits. The Arkham Asylum hit so well, and then.
But and I like the Arkham Asylum games, but I don't like that disgusting, like, dark twist on everything.
Oh, you didn't like the overall tone of that? Of the game.
Because Batman just keeps getting darker. And here's the thing, though. I'm way out of the target demographic. Like the 18 to 35. I'm on the other side of that. Yeah. So they're not making these movies.
Keaton's my Batman.
Yeah, they're not making these movies for me.
Yeah.
But if they were, it would be a lot goofier. It'd be a lot more like the Barbie movie. Yeah. And what people have told me is, then you'll like Batman Lego. And I probably will, but I haven't watched it yet. Yeah.
No, they're putting Robert Pattinson in there for people like Zoe. So she goes, wow, look at his back.
She's like, oh, look at that.
That one scene where his back's in the shower because dude, remember, you haven't seen him, but we love Twilight, and the best scene is when he comes out shirtless, and he's a skinny guy.
That's the best scene?
And he's a skinny guy, but they want him to be buff, and so they spray paint abs onto his, and it's so bad looking. You gotta
But I like that. While I was watching it, I liked that Batman movie, The Batman. But
I liked it.
I haven't revisited it.
Zoe really liked it. Yeah, I haven't seen it since. Oh, I was gonna say, oh man, I forgot. I don't know if we've missed anything. Also, my plan is to have you on again at some point.
I'll be on.
Like when Twig. Can we say that Twig?
Yeah.
Is a thing? Is that
there will be a second volume of Twig.
Okay. Yes.
I'm on the record, and I've done concept art for it. And Scotty and I have talked about it. We need to have a sit down, he and I, where we say, okay, this is what we're actually doing. And it's going to happen.
Okay. So there's no time frame. It's just whenever you guys are ready to do it. Mm-hmm. Is that generally how they get you over there at Image? They don't give you I've never done an Image book still. So.
Generally you go to Image and you say, I made this book. And would you like to publish it? And they'll either say, hell yeah, or they'll say, nah.
Or nothing.
Or there's a good chance they'll say nothing.
Yeah. I like when they say at least no.
I like
it. Feels like they looked at it.
It was a step up. It was my journey at Image was nothing.
Yeah.
Actually, when Eric Larson was the editor, he'd be like, nah.
No.
And then like nothing. But now I get a no at least.
Yeah, that's good.
Or a yes, which is even better.
Because we could, into Radness, we pitched it over there, and they were Eric Stevens was very nice, and he said basically someone will pick this up. It's just not right.
Yeah, he was like, I'm sure it'll still get picked up, but not
just like with ours. And that's the kind of jumping off of the movies. What's happened at the time, comics do that too. They're like, oh, well, we had a book kind of like that. It didn't sell too well like a couple months ago, but then the years change, and it could sell 2 years later just because a million other factors are all happening.
Oh yeah, because like Twig, if Twig had come out before the pandemic, I don't think it would have done as well as it did. Yeah, and in fact, it was a totally different story before the pandemic. And then and we had time to think about it. We were like, this is not. We shouldn't do this. So we switched gears. And there was a paper shortage, and there were no reprints, so everybody had to buy their stuff then, like up front. It was. It's all very different. You told me, show me the pages on the show.
Yeah, let's do it right now. So that's how I'll I've got the Into Radness pages that I'm giving you because Kyle is so nice. I don't want to be like, I work hard, but I do owe a lot to you, I feel like.
Oh, thank you,
buddy. If I
hadn't
met you, I wouldn't have met everybody else, and I wouldn't have gotten hooked up at Dark Horse, and all these things wouldn't have happened.
Thank you, buddy.
So I feel like I'm very glad I met you, so I'll get you those pages. And then while I'm going and grabbing those, if you want to plug anything, if you've got what your weekly streams you do.
Sure. So almost every Thursday I am on Whatnot doing live art and selling books. So if you sign up for Whatnot, you can see me there. It's free to sign up. But also my newsletter, which I send out not very often, but I do sometimes. You can go to kylestrahm.com and sign up for my newsletter. And you could check out Twig from Image Comics. It is now collected. It's written by Scotty Young. I did the art. Color by Jean-Francois Boly, and Nate Picos did the letters. I think that's all I need to plug.
Yeah, I love that.
Those are my 3 plugs.
I love a good plug.
And if you want, these 2 guys right here,
Me.
us,
Yeah,
we did this book, Into Radness.
Yeah.
It's a trade paperback.
It'll appear in the.
It's an It's an OGN that you can get from Dark Horse Comics, and Jake worked very hard on it. Did a lot of beautiful art.
Oh,
and
that's sweet.
And I'm hidden in it. They go to a convention.
Oh, yeah, you're in it too.
And I look really curmudgeonly.
Yeah, so they're at a Comic-Con essentially, and I'm in there as well, and Zoe's in it, my fiance, and we're hitting on each other. In my mind, that was us meeting in this fantasy world, and I'm killing it. Like, she loves everything I'm saying, and,
Yeah.
And then Kyle's watching us be in love, and he hates
And
it.
I look like a curmudgeon, and I
he's
think
like, I wish I had love.
I think I made our editor Brett uncomfortable because when you sent this page, I was like, Jake, why are you talking to a girl and I look like a total douche?
It's like you forgot he was in the thread.
Yeah.
You're like, oh.
But I was just joking.
No, it was fun.
And Jake, I have to mention your Band-Aid. You have an X.
Oh, God.
That's gross.
Ew, it's falling off. When I
walked in here, Jake has an X of Band-Aids on his elbow, which is how he draws Band-Aids in this comic.
Yeah, there's always X's going. Oh, yeah, there's Band-Aids on the book.
Oh, yeah. There they are.
No, I skinned my elbow, and because I fell down, and I was like, I thought about it after it happened, and I was like, I don't think I've skinned my elbow since I was like in middle school.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Like,
skin your knee. You skin your knee a lot. That's more common.
When you're a kid, not like lately.
Well, not me.
God, skinned your knee.
Because you're not on pavement. You're not playing on pavement.
You're not on many.
Like, you could get a burn
You're not on
a
many playground. You're like
in a basketball court. Maybe if you go to the
if
you go to the gym and you play basketball, you could. But skinning your knee, nah.
I'm trying to desperately find this. It might be there's another book down there, but I have this one. Did you want this one too?
Well, I don't know which one. I know which 2 it is.
I know it's them all hugging and being in love.
And then it's
I thought it was maybe this one too.
Oh, it is that one. That's the other one.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll show that a little bit. So if you're listening only on iTunes or whatever, sorry,
iTunes, you don't get to see this awesome page.
You can hear it. You can hear that paper coming out. The smearing.
I do want to touch on a thing Jake said, and I appreciate it, man. And I appreciate you drawing this book because just like you said, doing the book led to things. Like me writing this book and having it come out led to things as well. So I appreciate it a lot. But anybody who wants to make comics, go to conventions because that's where you meet everybody. And every single success I've had, I can trace back to people I met at cons. Yeah. Like I just walked up and you were there with all your stuff.
Yeah.
And then we made a book together.
I was like, hey, I'd like spread. And you were like, okay, cool.
I was like, see you later, weirdo.
You were like, all right. And then like, I remember I was there with my friend, and I think we just started talking about, like, we were making a lot of shit jokes. We were just like, bro, I got a shit. And we were just talking about that. And then you leaned in and you're like, I like some shit jokes.
Dude.
And then you're like, these guys are cool.
I was like, you're speaking my language.
Did you say shitting? Also,
I have no memory. He could have made that up. Yeah, I want that. So this is
we'll show it on the video.
A spread pinup that Jake drew for my book Spread. That's awesome, man. I didn't know you still had that.
I've got a scan on my computer. You can throw it up.
Man, I'm making out like a bandit.
I know. So this was actually, you had me do this like early.
See, that's how I roll. I'm like, hey, man, you want to do a pinup?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, they did a pretty awesome pinup.
Yeah. Let's see what they can do with the whole, and then they screw it up.
Mm-hmm.
Like me.
No, that's very cool. Thank you, man.
Yeah, no problem. And then I'll
see. This is when
I'll get you the other one.
This is when you drew more like James Herron.
Dude, yeah, that's the thing, man. There was that era, and I've since that'd be a funny story.
Funny story.
A quick funny story to end on, but you know James very well. I've met him once, and
I don't know him very well. We're buddies.
You're buddies. You talked to him. You were both on the Felix crew at one point.
Yeah.
And I was like, Kyle, can you tell James for me that I like I had my James Herron era, and I've consciously tried, like, actively been like, I need to veer off. I need to take a break. I need to look at other art. You know, homogenize it.
Did I tell him?
Did, and he was like, I appreciate it.
Oh, okay,
you know, because there's a lot of James Herron guys out there. So
there are.
And I will say, James, if you hear it, I love it. I love that there's more of you out there, but I could see it being annoying. That you're getting copied.
Like all these codes you cracked, that other people are just like. I have said before, I think James is one of the most influential artists of the decade, because so many people draw like James.
Draw like him. And I feel like he, to me, is how Jack Kirby was at that time, and everyone was drawing like him, and Jim Lee was at his time, and everyone was drawing like him. And I just feel like at some point, you won't even be able to trace it all the way back to James. It'll just be a style now in like 10 years.
Oh, yeah. Well, James is like but the thing about James is he's the original. His brain's still working.
Oh, yeah.
So his new stuff is different. Like, he's still growing. He's still he's still cracking the code in new ways for people to steal.
And like, for people to steal. And what you think is he's probably doing it faster because I don't know. I'm going to try to get him on too. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But,
very cool.
But yeah, it was awesome having you.
Thank you for having me, buddy.
Yeah, thank you for being the first guest. I hope our guerrilla style podcast setup isn't.
Yeah, no, it's great. Let me know when you're ready to call it quits, and I'll be your last guest too.
Yeah. Next week. This is the final episode of the Dead Gremlin.
Our first and last guest.
You're wearing the same shirt. We recorded the same day.
I will. I'm going to keep this shirt. And then I'll wear it on the last episode also.
Well, I'm gonna make shirts for people that has your head on it that says "Going Hog Wild."
All right.
I'm gonna make up your stupid catchphrases that aren't true.
All right. That sounds great.
All right. Well,
thanks.
That's it.
Thanks, Jake.
Okay, I'm gonna plug the stuff. So if you wanna subscribe on iTunes, subscribe on YouTube, we're doing all of that. We're gonna have new episodes every Wednesday, and every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday.
That's the plan.
That's okay.
Comic day. So what I would like is it comes out like early in the morning on Wednesday, and then you listen to it, and we say something about some new book, and you go, I want to go.
Oh, you should go check out Godzilla War for Humanity
on Wednesday, please, because then they'll let me do more.
You should buy every cover.
You should. The covers are. Have you seen other ones?
I have seen. Well, first you were like, you want to see the covers? I was like, no, I want to draw my cover.
And that is true.
Because
once I saw them, I was like, why am I drawing this? Look at this cover.
Yeah,
this person should draw it.
No, I've seen Andrew's cover. I've seen your cover. I've seen Nick Batara's cover. I showed you Trad. I've seen Trad's cover. I think that might be it.
Yeah, they're great. And there's a couple of people I've never heard of they're killing it. But anyway, all right, we got to go. But thank you, everyone. We will see you next time. I won't. Maybe. Maybe
if it's the last show.
We'll see. And we're not technically going to see you. It's a metaphor. But all right, bye.
Bye.